The secret place. Reckon 1,000,000 little critters live along the spring branch. If you could be a giant and could look down on its bends and curves, you would know the spring branch is a river of life. I was the giant. Being over 2 feet tall, I squatted giant-like to study the little marshes where trickles of the steam eddied off into their low places. Frogs laid eggs, big crystal balls of jelly that had pollywogs dotted all through them, waited for the time to eat their way out. Rock minnows darted to chase musk bugs scuttering across the stream. When you held a musk bug in your hand, it smelled real sweet and thick. Once I spent a whole afternoon collecting some musk bugs, just a few in my pocket, for they're hard to catch. I took them to Grandma, as I knew she loved sweet smells. She always put honeysuckle in her lye soap when she made it. She was more excited about the musk bugs than I was, near. She said she had never smelled anything so sweet and couldn't figure how she had missed out on knowing about musk bugs. At the supper table, she told Grandpa about it before I could, and how it was the brandest new thing she had ever smelled. Grandpa was struck dumbfounded. I let him smell them, and he said he had lived 70-odd years total unaware of such a smell. Grandma said I had done right, for when you come upon something that is good, first thing to do is share it with whoever you can find. That way, the good spreads out to where no telling it will go, which is right. I got pretty wet splashing in the spring branch, but Grandma never said anything. Cherokees never scolded their children for having anything to do with the woods. I would go far up the spring branch, wading the clear water, bending low through the green feather curtains of the weeping willows that hung down, trailing branch tips in the current. Water ferns made green lace that curved over the stream and offered holding places for the little umbrella spiders. These little fellers would tie one end of a thin cable to the fern branch, then leap into the air, spilling out more cable in an umbrella, and try to make it across to a fern branch on the other side. If he made it, he would tie the cable and jump back and forth until he had a pearly-looking net spread over the spring. These were gritty little fellers. If they fell in the water, they got swept away in the rapids and had to fight to stay on top and make it to the bank before a brook minnow got them. I squatted in the middle of the spring branch and watched one little spider trying to get his cable across. He had determined that he was going to have the widest pearl net anywheres up and down the whole spring branch, and he picked a wide place. He would tie his cable, jump in the air, and fall in the water. He'd get swept downstream, fighting for his life, crawl out on the bank, and come back on that same fern. Then he'd try again. The third time he come back to the fern and walked out on the end and laid down, crossing his front arms under his chin to study the water. I figured he might near give out. I was, and my bottom was numb and cold from squatting in the spring branch. He laid there thinking and studying. In a minute he got a thought and commenced to jump up and down on the fern, up and down. The fern got to rising and falling. He kept at it, jumping to move the fern down and riding it back up. Then, off a sudden, when the fern rose high, he jumped, letting out his umbrella, and he made it. He was fired up proud and leapt around after he made it until he nearly fell off. His pearl net became the widest I ever saw. I got to know the spring branch, following it up the hollow.